Level 1. The volunteer. You don't have a title yet. You're not an agent. You're not an asset. You're not anything with a name that gets written down. You are a person who made a phone call and passed a preliminary screening and signed a document that if you ever showed it to a lawyer, they would tell you it doesn't legally exist. You signed it anyway. The first thing they take is your phone. Not permanently, just for the duration of the initial orientation. 3 days in a building with no visible address in Northern Virginia, sitting in rooms with other people who all have the same expression: cautious, alert, quietly desperate to prove something. You don't know their real names. They don't know yours. That's the first lesson, delivered without words. Information is already being managed, even here, even now, even about you. The training is bureaucratic at first. Forms, briefings, background checks on top of the background checks you already cleared. You learn that the agency exists in layers, and you are currently standing on the outermost one, the one where sunlight still reaches. Nobody tells you about the inner layers yet. You pass the psychological evaluation, you pass the polygraph, you pass the stress test where they deprive you of sleep for 34 hours and then ask you to solve logic problems while someone screams at you from 4 feet away. You don't break. You knew you wouldn't. You've always known something was different about the way you process pressure. That's why you're here. The orientation officer, a man in his late 50s with the affect of a high school vice principal, gives you your first real piece of instruction. He says it once, quietly, like it's not important. You will be asked to do things that cannot be explained to the people you love. You will learn to live with that. Most people do. He doesn't say what happens to the ones who don't. You go home, you wait. 3 weeks later, a different envelope arrives. This one has an assignment. The cycle begins. Level 2. The asset. You are not running operations. You are being run. Your handler is a woman named Carla, though that's not her real name, and she contacts you through a messaging app that deletes every conversation after 60 seconds. She tells you where to be and when. She tells you what to observe and how to report it. She does not explain why. You learn quickly that asking why is the wrong reflex. The right reflex is execution. Your first assignment is surveillance, a restaurant in Bethesda. You sit at a corner table for 2 hours and 40 minutes, order coffee twice, and watch a man in a gray suit meet 3 other men and hand over a USB drive in a handshake. You report the time, the description, the make of every watch on every wrist. You go home and feel something strange, a kind of electric clarity, like your mind was built for this and everything before was just warm-up. You don't ask what was on the drive. Over the next 8 months, you run 11 low-level operations, surveillance packages, courier runs, 2 dead drops in parking garages, 1 meeting where you simply sat in a room and listened while 2 men had a conversation in Farsi, then transcribed what you could remember word for word in a debriefing that lasted 6 hours. You are making $3,200 a month. It's routed through a consulting firm that exists on paper. You pay taxes on it. Everything looks clean. You don't have a clearance level that has a name yet. You exist inside a compartment that doesn't appear on any org chart. Carla is the only person in the agency who knows your real identity. You understand now that this is not a coincidence. It's architecture. If you disappear, the exposure is minimal. You are still expendable. The thing that surprises you is how normal life looks from inside it. You still go to the grocery store. You still have friends who think you work in government contracting. You still argue about parking tickets and whether you need a new couch. The duality doesn't split you. It sharpens you. At month 9, Carla tells you they want to move you to active status. You say yes before she finishes the sentence. Level 3. The field operative. Now you have a cover identity. Not a disguise, not a costume, a life, fully constructed. Backstory, employment history, 2 social media accounts maintained by a support team you'll never meet, a credit profile going back 6 years. You are, on paper, a mid-level logistics consultant who travels frequently for work. That part is true. You go through 8 weeks of advanced training at a facility that doesn't appear on satellite imagery. You learn contact surveillance and counter surveillance. You learn how to build rapport with a target in under 7 minutes. You learn 3 methods of covert entry that don't leave marks. You learn how to pass a message without ever being in the same room as the recipient. You are introduced to a network, a loose, invisible architecture of operatives who share your status. You don't know their faces. You know their call signs. Yours is windless. Your first active operation takes you to Istanbul. You are there for 11 days. You build a relationship with a mid-level official in a foreign telecommunications ministry. You share meals with him. You listen to him talk about his daughter's school performance. On day 9, you photograph his laptop screen using a pen camera while he's in the bathroom of a restaurant on the Bosphorus. The images go to an analyst in Langley who you will never meet, who will use them to map a network you don't have clearance to know about. You fly home in business class. Your cover holds. You feel nothing about it, and that's the first time you register that something has changed in you. Not broken, recalibrated. You catalog it the way you catalog everything now, as data. Over the next 2 years, you run 14 operations across 9 countries. You develop 4 human intelligence sources, one of whom you genuinely like. You are paid $87,000 a year through the consulting shell. You are cited in 4 internal intelligence reports that will never have your name attached to them. You are very good at this. The question you stop asking is whether good is the same as right. Level 4. The ghost. You don't have a handler anymore. You are the handler. 2 assets report to you now. Junior operatives who see you the way you once saw Carla, as a controlled intelligence, warm enough to communicate with, cold enough to trust. You run them with precision. You feel the strange geometry of it. You know everything about them, and they know nothing about you. Your cover identity is your 3rd. The previous 2 were burned, not blown, burned, retired deliberately as you moved deeper into the infrastructure. The man the Istanbul ministry official had dinner with no longer exists. You are cleared at a level that has a number, not a name. The number is not spoken aloud. You sign paperwork that authorizes you to conduct operations within specific parameters that include actions you would have found unthinkable when you opened that first envelope. You sign it with a steady hand. You are based out of a European city. Your apartment is agency funded and agency swept twice a month. Your neighbors think you're a financial analyst. One of them has been briefed to report anything unusual. You suspect it's the woman on the 3rd floor because she never makes eye contact and is always exactly present without ever seeming to observe. You manage a budget of $2.3 million per quarter for your operational cell. You make decisions about resource allocation. You decide which sources get protected and which ones get cut loose when the exposure math changes. Twice in 18 months, you cut a source loose. One of them disappeared within 6 weeks of losing agency protection. You received a brief internal notification. You filed it. The psychological shift at this level is not traumatic, it's arithmetic. The more variables you're responsible for, the more the individual ones start to function like abstractions. You're not cruel, you're precise. There's a difference, and you tell yourself that often enough that it no longer needs defending. Your operational record is immaculate. Nobody outside 7 people on Earth knows your actual identity. You sleep fine. Level 5. The Station Chief. You are running the whole board now. Your city, you think of it as yours now, which is itself a symptom, has a station of 22 personnel spread across 4 cover entities, commercial firms, an NGO, and academic liaison office. You know the real identity of each of them. Only 3 of them know yours. You report to a deputy director you speak with once a week via encrypted channel. The conversations last between 4 and 12 minutes. They are surgical. You present intelligence summaries, operational status, resource requirements. You receive guidance. The guidance is sometimes very clear, sometimes it is deliberately vague, and the vagueness is itself an instruction. It means the authorization exists, but the paper trail shouldn't. You are authorized to conduct certain operations unilaterally if the threat window is under 6 hours. You have used that authorization twice. Both times it worked. You didn't report the second one in full detail. The omission was deliberate. The deputy director received a summary that was technically accurate. This is the level where you understand that the agency is not a single organism with one will. It's a complex of competing interests, bureaucratic alliances, and personal legacies. People at your level protect their stations because the station's success is their success. Intelligence gets shaped before it travels upward, not fabricated, shaped, framed, emphasized differently depending on what narrative supports your position. You are now a participant in that process. You have a local asset, a senior government official who has been on your network for 4 years. You know things about his personal life that would end his career and probably his marriage. He knows you know. That's the arrangement. He provides, you protect. It's not coercion in any legal sense. That's what you tell yourself. It's leverage, which is just the formal term for mutual understanding. Your salary doesn't exist. Your expenses come through a financial architecture that would take a forensic accountant 6 months and 17 jurisdictions to untangle. You live well. You live quietly. You have not spoken to your sister in 2 years, not because of a fight, because the distance is safer for her. You are 41 years old. You feel 60. Level 6. The Architect. You are no longer in the field. You're back in the United States, in a building in Langley where your badge accesses 3 floors that most employees don't know exist. You have a staff. You have an assistant who has top secret clearance and still doesn't know half of what passes across your desk. You design programs now, not operations, programs, multi-year strategic frameworks, intelligence collection architectures, influence networks that take 18 months to build and are meant to run for a decade. You think in 5-year increments. You think about succession, not yours, but the succession of sources, covers, and relationships that have to outlive any individual operative. You have briefed 2 members of Congress and 1 national security advisor. None of them knew your real name. They were given a functional title. They did not push for more. The most important thing you've learned at this level is that oversight is not what civilians believe it is. Oversight is a relationship, and like all relationships, it can be managed. You are very good at relationships. You manage a portfolio of 12 active programs. 3 of them operate in legal gray zones that are covered by classified legal opinions you've read, but are not authorized to share with the oversight bodies technically responsible for approving them. This is not unusual. This is Tuesday. You've authorized things that will never appear in any written record. You've done it carefully, with plausible structural distance, and you've done it because you genuinely believe that the alternative was worse. You have threat assessments, you have analysis, you have data. The decisions make sense inside the logic of the system. You stopped questioning the logic a long time ago. The cost of stopping is something you'll inventory later. Later keeps moving. Level 7. The Unnamed. There is no org chart that has your position on it. There is no title. You don't collect a government salary. You are technically a consultant, a private contractor attached to a classified program office, but the word consultants implies an external relationship, and you are not external to anything. You are infrastructure. You've been doing this for 23 years. You know where 17 programs are buried that are not currently active, but could be reactivated in under 48 hours if the political landscape shifted. You know the real identities of 9 current senior officials who were once operatives. They know you know. That is, again, the arrangement. Information at this level is not currency in a metaphorical sense. It is the actual operative mechanism of power. You hold information the way a utility company holds power lines, not because you use it constantly, but because you own the infrastructure through which everything else must pass. You have not run a field operation in 11 years. You don't need to. You know the people who run the people who run the people in the field. The distance is intentional. Distance means insulation. You are untouchable in a very specific way, not because no one could try, but because trying would require a chain of authorizations that would expose the authorizing parties before it ever reached you. You are protected by the complexity of the system you helped build. People inside the agency know you exist. They know your call sign. It's been the same for 19 years. They do not know your face. The few who've met you in person describe you differently to different people, which you've always taken as a professional compliment. You live in a house outside Charlottesville. It's registered to a trust. You drive a 12-year-old Volvo. You garden in the early morning. You read history books, specifically the chapters that explain how empires collapse from the inside out. You find them uncomfortably recognizable. You don't speak to your son often. When you do, you are present in the technical sense. You ask the right questions. You laugh at the right moments. But there's a layer of glass between you and the conversation, and you've stopped hoping it will dissolve. This is the cost you pay so slowly that you didn't notice the full bill until most of it was already paid. You are consulted on succession, who gets the programs, who carries the institutional memory. You give careful recommendations. You think about legacy in the same clinical way you think about everything else. Late at night, occasionally, you think about that first envelope. White, plain, no return address. You don't regret opening it. That's the most troubling part.